listeners, welcome back to Off Over 50 and Fired Up. Now what with Linda
and Shelley.
So last episode we did part 2 of our mini-series on starting a new job. We covered with our guests the topic of how their mindset had changed. And now we're going to move over and talk about and finish off with what are their priorities now and life goals and how has that changed with this experience, and then end it off with a little bit of advice from our guests. So, for our wine recommendation, Shelley, I think we're doing something different, right?
Yes, Linda. You know, it's really nice to have some different recommendations not coming from me. You know, so we thought it was really great that we have our guests do the recommendations.
So far, we've had 2 great wine recommendations, and I can't wait for the third. So, let's get started with the handoff part of our discussion.
Well, as we indicated, this series is a one-off. With our returning guests, both Prem and Betsy, who've recently found new jobs in the last 9 months or so.
So welcome back, everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Good to be
Thanks,
back.
Linda and Shelley.
Thank you for capping off our last episode in this series. So I think our guest wine recommendation is going to come from Betsy this time.
It is, in fact. And given that we are just approaching summer, I thought it would be nice to recommend a rosé. So I particularly like the 2017 Domaine Haute Rosé from Provence. It's light, it's refreshing, it's crisp, it's perfect for a summer day.
There you go. Just like Shelley and I, a combination of white and red.
That's right.
Precisely.
Yes, and perfect for summer days to hang around with.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So let's start with our questions, guys. You know, the very first one we really wanted to talk about was, you know, have your priorities and your life goals changed with the new roles?
Yes, I would say that life goals and priorities have changed since I started the job, but they actually started to change in between the 2 roles. It's not because of this role that, you know, priorities and goals have changed. It was really that time in between the 2 roles that I had time to think. I really started to take better care of myself. And so now with starting the new role, I obviously don't have as much free time as when I was totally unemployed. So I have to now figure out ways to keep up with that kind of exercise and regimen, because that is now a priority. It made me feel so much better, you know, cleared my head, and I want to make sure that I maintain that as I'm working, whereas I was not very good with that in my last role. So that was kind of a priority that I now have put at the forefront. And then, you know, it's really, I think we've said things about this already. It's about being able to keep an open mind. It's about listening. It's about learning. And so, you know, it's just kind of keeping a open mind and moving forward. But in terms of kind of my life goals and priorities, it really is about kind of the happiness, health, friends, family, and, you know, doing a good job at work, but it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, no, I think my priorities changing have been an evolution over the course of many years. Even in my old role, where it was, let's climb up and let's 2 years and 2.5 years, and I want to get promoted. In 2 years, 2.5 years. And I think it probably about 4 or 5 years ago that changed to, you know, I have a family, I want to spend time with my children, and that while being challenged continuously and growing is important, that quick clip of growing to the next role and the next thing got less and less important. I think there was a bigger step change as I, you know, left the organization and kind of took the new role where that the constant challenge, you know, in being and growing in a role, that hasn't left. But how that kind of comes to life is different. I don't need to be promoted every 2 years. I want the challenges, and I want to be recognized, obviously, in compensation, in any other intangible and tangible benefits for that. But moving up the corporate ladder, career ladder, much less important. And that, you know, I think the break brought that to life. And I got to be honest, like Betsy, I'm much happier for it. Like, I have better balance in my work life. It doesn't mean I don't work. I hate to use the word work hard. I work in order to maximize like value and maximize growth for the organization. And sometimes it means working hard, late nights, you know, but sometimes it means just, you know, finding those right opportunities to continue just that growth, right? Like to keep finding ways to grow. And it's better balance in my personal life,
Right.
ensuring I spend time with kids and flexibility of, hey, I need to work at home because I have something. I get things I needed done. I like to keep, challenging and growing and delivering value, but I am able to integrate that far better than I ever was.
So do you find now that you actually do spend the time prioritizing, like, because, at work, at anything that you do, everything keeps piling on, right? You keep giving, new assignments or new things while you haven't quite finished the old ones. So do you look at this differently now? Like when you actually do take the time to prioritize instead of saying, yeah, okay, I'll just work the Saturday morning, or I'll do this, or I'll push this, I'll just add it onto my pile and get it done somehow, versus stepping back and say, okay, what are the right priorities for me to do? Do I need to talk to the organization now and say, this is getting to be where I'm going to be ineffective, and reprioritize and spend more time talking about those priorities?
I don't know if I've directly done that, Linda. What I have gotten better, though, I think it's just business maturity of understanding what's really important and what's not. And I think having a old company perspective, but not looking at that at a new organization, has helped me really understand what are the pieces that are going to bring the biggest piece of value to my organization. And kind of as a consultant, you can do a little bit of that. So, if we have the opportunity to really work with, one of our clients and have this opportunity to say, yeah, this looks like it's going to really convert into something that'll add joint value, then we'll spend more time on that. And there's a recognition within the organization saying, hey, if I'm not prioritizing something else, I can explain why, and it's accepted. So I guess I don't formally go through the process saying exactly what, but I kind of know as I'm working on the different pieces what ends up being more important and what's less important. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
So it's funny you should bring it up because just this past week, we found out that we're down 2 team members, or going to be, right? 2 people have resigned. And so some of their workload is going to be shuffled around the team. And so we all sat down and did this huge prioritization exercise of literally listing everything that was on our plates, everything from administrative to, key projects to meetings and things, and plotting it on this, quadrant table. And what was interesting is I had been kind of already raising my hand saying, there's too much on the kind of nice to-dos and not enough on my projects. And it wasn't until I could actually map that out and show people that then all of a sudden they were like, oh, wait a second, yeah, we've put too much on your plate of all of this administrative and training and, getting, kind of teaching people about digital and e-commerce. It's great and all, but it's now detracting from the 2 big deliverables that I have for the end of the year. And so by actually mapping that out and showing them was actually so much better. It visualized it, but it also brought it to life. It's one thing when I kept saying, folks, I think like there's too much. Then being able to literally put it forward in front of the department head, and they were kind of like, ooh, didn't realize, there was that much. In terms of like work-life balance, I'm not literally sitting down there with a quadrant for myself. Maybe I should. But I will say the prioritization exercise was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, in all fairness, at work. But in terms of, as I said, from that time off between the 2 roles, I really did kind of take a good hard look at my life and what I wanted to get out of it and what I wanted moving forward. And so, as I said, like the health, the happiness, the, time with friends and family, getting away on vacations, like that still is critical, and I'm not willing to budge on those things. And so I definitely have had to stand my ground a little bit more in the new role, where I think in my old role it would always be like, oh, well, I'll just take my phone, call me if you need me or whatever. And now I'm not. I'm, you don't see me for 5 days, really, the world is not going to come to an end.
And I love that perspective, because I think in the beginning, one of the very first episodes that Linda and I talked about, and how our roles defined us, our careers defined us. And I find now, as I've been doing more of the consulting kind of work, that my attitude has completely changed. It's not my job that defines me anymore. It's what I want from life that's defining me. And I fit in. I mean, what I can with the consulting roles, obviously they help pay the bills and everything, but I've had a completely different change in mindset. I don't know. How about you, Lynn?
And I'm the same way. I mean, before, I think if I look back, it was work and pretty much work. And then you fit in the family and the personal stuff wherever you can. And now I'm just like, no, I have work and I certainly want to be gratified by my work. I want to be challenged by my work, as you said, Prem. But it can't be everything. It can't be the center anymore. And so for me, it's like, no, I need to focus on, as you said, Betsy, my family, friends, having that happiness and quality of life, and making sure that I do make sure that I take care of myself and the people who are important to me. And that the career on top is great, but it's not everything. And you're right, they can do without you.
Yeah,
Right?
it's funny actually. Betsy, you thought it reminded me of a story. Just last month, I went on vacation, and usually when I'm on vacation, even in the past, I check my email once a day. Like not all the time, but once a day, just to be like, oh, if there's something hot. I deleted my work email off my phone, and I put it back on when I got back from vacation. And I had my out of office and all that, and I sent anything you need, go to this other person. But I came back and there was one or two issues. It may have been good for me to be involved, but it wasn't. It wasn't the end of the earth, and it was so liberating. I had the focus on the children, the focus on my spouse, and it was really liberating. And it's what I'm going to continue, no matter what, moving forward.
Well, just building on that, at the last company, initially I had a work phone and a personal phone, and things happened, and it ended up that they said, no, just merge it into one, just have one phone. So I had the one phone. So to your point, like when you'd go on vacation, you couldn't not, unless you deleted the app, you'd still see those emails coming through. Now at the new company, I've insisted having the two phones. So the, one short break that I've taken since I started, I left the phone at home. I was over in England and I had my, the work phone was sitting in my apartment in New York City, and it was great.
Yeah.
And then can I just tell you one other thing that is very interesting? I think, just with what happened to all of us, and, it really gets you to think about your career and your life and making changes. I have a friend right now who is burning the candle at both ends, is, torturing, themselves, bending over backwards for every little thing at work, not enjoying any vacations. And I just now go, ugh, like, are you insane? It's so, yeah. But, I think we all had been there at one point. And now, especially, kind of getting things more balanced and that's a luxury. That's a true luxury. But, now I just look and go, oh my God, I could not do that anymore. I don't want to do that. It's not, actually, I could do it. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting how that forced break just opened up your eyes so much. You had a whole new perspective on what does it mean to have a job, have a career, have a life, right, all together, and what does that mean to you? I think without that, I could see myself still on the wheel, the gerbil wheel, going round and round.
The habit trail.
The habit trail, thank you.
I agree.
Yes.
So to wrap it up, one of the things we really wanted to get from you guys is, do you have some advice for others, who are still out there seeking a job?
Listen to all of the podcasts by Shelley and Linda. I am not joking. Like, you guys were like therapy, right? Therapy, helpful hints, websites that I didn't even know of. Truly, I'm not saying that just because I'm on, your podcast. They really they were, so helpful. And I've recommended them to so many people now that are, either thinking of changing roles or have been let go, people thinking about starting consultancies, different things. Because I think you did just add so much value with these podcasts. So I want to thank you for that.
No, thank you so much.
Thanks.
And then it really is, it's LinkedIn and the networking and referrals. I just like that made such a difference for all the different jobs that I went for interviews for. It really, really set you up for success going in for those interviews if you've already done your homework, done your research, have the referrals, know a little bit about the company.